A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight. On the agenda is it is the last edition of the show for 2024, and we just want to thank our viewers first and foremost for sticking around with us throughout the year and for all your inputs. Tonight on the show, we are joined by Guchu, who is a fellow journalist, a veteran journalist, and we are here to unpack some of the major events, especially in the media industry this year. There's been a lot of things, and we are going to delve into those. Thank you very much, Wanda, for always making time. The Namibian Sun of Friday, 13th December, says messy year for Namibian media. And then the introduction says that from controversial suspensions of editors to a drop in press freedom rankings and journalists entering the race to become parliamentarians, 2024, which the late President Geingob dubbed the year of expectations, has been a turbulent one for the Fourth Estate in Namibia. Let's talk first about the suspensions, because they have mostly occurred in the state media. Jonathan Beukes at New Era, Nicodemus at NBC. Of course, I think there was also, I don't know whether it was the way Ashley Smith also left the Namibian. What has been your take on those incidents?
Yeah, thank you, Trevor, for inviting me in. And I think this is my fourth or fifth.
You always make time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, but to start with, I wouldn't say this was a mess here. Okay. Neither would I say there were controversial suspensions, because I look at the media as a cult. Every media house is like a cult, a church. There are rules, there are policies, there are regulations. When you join, when you sign up, you know what you are signing up for.
You're subjecting yourself to
Yes.
those.
So if you don't abide by those policies and rules within that cult setup, you don't survive. So we might, because one of the things that I have observed is we lie to ourselves as journalists. Always we lie. And that is a fact.
Please expand on that.
We lie to ourselves most of the times, right? And I know I will be unpopular for saying this, but somebody must say it. We have come to a stage where we treat ourselves as if we are untouchable. We talk about truth, and we don't ask ourselves whether we stand for truth, right? So if I'm going back to the cult setup, every media house has got rules, policies. Now, here I'm talking about an editorial policy that guides you to the do's and don'ts. Whether it's public, whether it's private, you know exactly the moment you walk in through their doors that I'm not supposed to say this, right? You might be thinking about it, but you are not supposed to say it loudly. The moment you say it loudly, you are out. We have had a conversation here about the New Era issue, and the developments came up, right? And I'm still trying to figure out whether there was a mutual agreement to the rupture, or there was a dismissal, because we've got two versions. My colleague Jonathan says the rupture was mutual, and then we got a statement saying it was a dismissal. Where's the truth? No one came up to say what went on here. What is the truth here? Right? That is one. And personally, I know what the state media stands for.
Yeah.
I've worked for state media before. I've worked for private media before. They are untouchables. When you go there and you touch the untouchables, you will be touched. It's very simple. It doesn't matter if the Namibian is the sun. You know exactly where you end. If you push the buttons, then you are pushed. So there are no controversies here. Neither is this one a mess here. It's a good thing that the paper had mercy in single quotes, which means that there are reservations to the word mercy. Right? Someone can interpret it, someone can debate it.
Yes.
That is one. The Ashley Smith issue. Ashley Smith was asked to go. The Namibian stands for the truth, telling it like it is. Never ever did the Namibian come back to tell the public that we have asked Ashley Smith to go. They never mentioned Ashley Smith's name in their story, right? And until today, the public doesn't know. Where's the truth? When we as the media, we claim to stand for the truth. Where's the truth? Right? What happened? So here, when I say we want to be treated as if we are, what I actually mean is our truth mustn't be told, but we tell other people's truth. This is exactly why I've got a big issue. We hide our truth. Gender-based violence is a very serious matter. If you hide it, why are you hiding it? Right? So then if it was done by somebody else in a state-owned enterprise, in another private company, that would have made headlines.
In the very same newspaper.
But you hide something that happens within your own house, the count. So there are no controversies. If there is any controversy, the media is creating that controversy.
But it's got no, please proceed. Please proceed.
The Anna Nicodemus issue. Interesting enough, Namibia Media Trust, Zoe Titus, the director, came up to say Anna Nicodemus got it wrong because the president-elect did not collapse. And there's that statement out, right? Now, if you say someone got it wrong, in actual fact, you are saying someone lied, right? So then what is it that must be defended? I've heard people talking about press freedom. There was sometime a big headline says media democracy or what? What are we talking about? Press freedom starts with the truth. Democracy starts with the truth. We as journalists, we must swear to defend the truth
at all times.
Yes, but if we know that there is no truth and we are defending what we know to be untruthful, what does that make us? So the controversies and the messes, to me, we are creating it. Right? We are creating it, and by creating it, we are making it. Then when these figures come in now from the Reporters Without Borders and stuff, and I sit back every other time and I ask myself, how did we get here? How are we defending lies? Right? Instead of defending truth, because that is what we swore to defend. Right? So where do we start? Because then I've lost faith in these figures here. Right? People can come up, well, unfortunately, we need to start to question ourselves. Us as media, ourselves. What are we defending? Are we defending the truth? Or we are defending untruth? And whatever we come up with, what is it that we want to do?
A very explosive start by you, Wanda, there, and I appreciate it that we started on a very honest and frank note. Let me just say that My worry. So, okay, first, the messy part is not, it doesn't imply that we are blaming someone else. Messy could be very much that we created this mess ourselves as an industry, as practitioners. But in the Jonathan Beukes case, unless there are other things that we do not know, what we know for sure is that it started with the CEO, Mr. Maletsky, wrote a letter to the board, a brief note to the board explaining why it was necessary to suspend Jonathan. And he says it's because the newspaper has been turned into, it's scrutinizing fellow public institutions, regional councils, SOEs, and that it has not, and that it relies on leaks, his own words, it relies on leaks rather than authoritative sources. And I wrote in my editorial one of the days, and I said, fish rot was exposed through the leaks. Nobody stood on the podium and said, oh, we stole money. The very nature of our operation as a media is to cultivate sources, as long as we must verify the veracity of the allegations that have been made. So that was the problem, that the newspaper has become too negative. And maybe it's true what you said, to say, look, if the rules of the newspaper when you signed up, if the rules said don't be negative, then he was breaking that contractual agreement. But I don't think even that, having worked at New Era myself, and I don't think the rules have changed. The founding act of New Era says that you must write stories, developmental stories, as they pertain to the needs of the communities. And the needs of the community is also true, that if there's no transparency in the judiciary, in the manner the judges are appointed, I don't know how that is negative to me as a reader of New Era. So those are my concerns.
Yeah, to have a look, there are 2-3 things here. I'm not sure if Jonathan broke any rule. I can't speak on that. But I haven't also seen the letter that you are referring to.
We quoted it in the paper. Okay, but
the only thing that I go with are the stories that I read.
Yes.
Now, if you get a tip, a leak, and the fish rod that you are talking about, and I've been saying this, the very first journalist in this country to write a story that led to what we call the fish rod was Ndangi. 2014, 2015, when she wrote about the appointment of G. James, right?
Yeah.
That was the build-up. And it was from a tip. But it doesn't mean that if you get a tip, it's a good thing that you talk about verification. You get a tip, our job as editors, you verify the truth. We go back to the truth.
Yes.
Is the tip that you received genuine, right? But I have a problem when you receive a tip and you don't verify, and then you hide behind the word alleged, right? Once you use the word alleged, you are creating room for doubt.
Yeah.
Right? Having tips, every journalist receives tips. And this is where the stories are. But the onus rests on you to prove that the tip that you have received. Now, once I read a lead story with alleged, I stop. Because you as a journalist, you don't know. So you want to allege things to me, which is not true, which those things may not be true, or they may be true. So the whole issue is, and there was a time I even sent a message to Christoph to say, the paper is looking good. And if he's listening, he will tell you that. There were stories that were genuine, right? Stories that were, they went to the bottom. But there were other stories that I would put question marks. And the last time I was here, and when we were talking about this, and I said it, there were stories where, this story, then this story and this story here. Something was supposed to have been done. But I'm not sure whether it was breaking the law, because the quality of journalism has gone down, right? People are just, shoveling whatever they can get. So to be very critical when you are factual, there is nothing wrong. But to be critical when you don't have the facts, when you are alleging, when you are not. Look, there is the case of the police officer who was said that he stole some stuff from, and that story was, the word alleged was there. But it went, then the story went on to state whatever was being alleged is fact. Right? So if you say someone stole something and you are using alleged, and then you go on in other paragraph to present that as fact, then it is a concern. But I'm not saying, and I'm not sure because I wasn't there. I'm not sure whether the person who served that story, but by the end of the day, the one who is heading that department gets the blame. Now, I worked with both. I worked with Crystal for 5 years. We were sitting like we are sitting, and we attended the same meetings, and fortunately, I know both men, right? And I know their personalities. And I always, when this issue comes up, I always ask myself, how did we get here? How did things get to this level? Right? Because I was also being told that they don't talk. And I'm like, but how can you run a newsroom when you don't talk? Someone has to be the bigger person, right? I had issues with Kikris of myself, but we ended up talking. I had issues with Tangin, but we ended up talking. But the question is, you need to be professional, whatever you do, right? So I don't know what was happening there. This is why I said the only thing that I have as proof is when I read a story, I know that something is missing here. Something was supposed to have been added here. But if a story is not complete and it raises concerns, to be critical, there's nothing wrong if you have got the facts. But to be critical without the facts, it's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's good that you mentioned that. I mean, it's not an issue only confined to the specific media house. I think it's a very general problem that is reoccurring in all our newsrooms, where especially editors, we are really struggling to get the best out of our reporters sometimes. There was a story in the Namibian a couple of months ago where they looked into the issue of what they call the juniorization of newsrooms, saying that the newsrooms are becoming more junior and junior because it's just really fresh graduates who are coming up, taking on these big stories because the veterans of the trade have left for better paying jobs elsewhere. So you keep reinventing the wheel all the time as a media house. And I think perhaps, in just a theory, that maybe some of the lack of quality that you alluded to comes also from, and I want to be very, very careful and not blame junior reporters because, and say, oh, the quality has gone down because of them. No. I think we have a responsibility to protect them and safeguard them and guide them. But the reality also is that with experience comes better output. But
Trevor, before you go on.
Yes.
I have a quick question. People don't run away from their jobs as jobs.
Yes.
They run away from bad management, toxic atmosphere, environment. And I need to point out that the newsroom has become the most undemocratic space, right? People have no voices. You can't raise your voice and you are left to be you don't go scot-free. You'll be nailed, right? So people, they find it unnecessary, right, to suffer from stress and depression if they can have an option. Most newsroom management or media houses managers, unfortunately, these are journalists who have been in the same trenches. The way we treat our own is what is driving most experienced guys out. The way we treat our own people, we don't defend them, right? You find reasons. Every other time you find reasons to nail someone. And then if you have an option, why would you stay to be nailed? You move on. And this has driven people out. But apart from that, is the salaries. You look at, can I stay for this kind of money? And you then weigh the pressure that comes with it and the money that you are getting, and then you are like, I can't.
It's not worth it.
So for me, it's not so much about the junior guys running newsrooms today. It's the undemocratic space the newsrooms have become. It's the toxic atmosphere that we as managers have created. Right? There's a lot that is going on. If you are going to call junior journalists today to ask them what is going on, there's a lot that is going on, but they suffer in silence. They don't even talk.
It's a very good. It's a very good point that you raised, Wanda. I can't say that I'm oblivious to what you just said. It's actually true. And I juxtapose that with, because I've been all over myself, especially in my formative years. I've worked for many news organizations here. And I remember, for example, that I had an editor called Raja Munamava at New Era. He was the best editor I've had because he was this father figure, to all of us in the newsroom, and he would listen, and he had a very strong human element to his leadership. If you were, he never shouted at, he was firm but very fair also. And that has been eroded in the current dispensation. We don't have a lot of those anymore. I see people resigning, people prepared to resign to sit at home. People are prepared to sit at home.
To go and do nothing because it's toxic.
So that point is very true. We will go on a very short break and return with Wanda Guchu.
Santa has a festive surprise for you. Starting 2nd December, unwrap the magic of Christmas with our Advent calendar. Spot the Christmas globes in your favorite newspapers from Monday to Friday. Scan the QR code or WhatsApp hashtag Advent Calendar 24 to the Synergy chatbot. Find the Christmas globes on NTV. Or visit our Facebook pages for daily Advent doors from Monday to Saturday. Win daily prizes. Lucky winners will be contacted and Logistics Hub Namibia will deliver your prize. Merry Christmas from Santa and his proud prize sponsors.
We continue with our final episode of the agenda for the year 2024 with Wanda Guchu, my colleague, my industry colleague. Now, we haven't delved much into the Anna Nicodemus issue. I branded it a chaotic interview. And my colleagues at work took me on for my choice of word, but I stood by what I said. It was a chaotic interview. It was a very, very bad interview. Whether it warranted suspension, that is where the debate is, because you could have a very bad interview, but the punishment for bad interviews is not suspension. Might be guidance and say, look, you could have done this or that. Of course, I mean, you referred to the Namibia Media Trust, which sort of dug much more into the issue and found that a lot of her assertions were not correct. The issue now is whether she spoke in her private capacity and that MBC was only mentioned for affirmation, because when I introduced you, I just said that you're a journalist. It's important for me for people who are watching to say, who is this guy? So we say, no, she is an editor at MBC. But I don't think she was speaking on behalf of MBC.
Yeah, Trevor, I don't want to think of what was. That issue as well. No, remember, I always refer people to background. This is not the first time. There was a time when Anna left NBC for One of Africa, if you remember that.
Yes.
She didn't stay long.
Yes, then she came back.
He had also said something about the late Robert Mugabe, right? And I'm not sure whether she was asked to go or she left on her own accord.
Yeah.
But it's the same. So what this tells us is that before we speak authoritatively, whether we are introduced as what and what, if we have got the authority to speak, I will go back to facts. Facts are truth, and truth is fact, right? What we are saying, is it factual, right? And you need to prove it. After this whole thing, that the suspension and things, this is when I went to check it out. If you are introduced as an investigative journalist, and then inside the interview, you tell the viewers, the person who is interviewing, that I heard that she collapsed 2 times. And you have been, the authority that you have to be on that program is your investigative skills. But you rely on hearsay. I heard, right? And to me, that was an issue. So, you are an investigative journalist. I'm not judging her. You are an investigative journalist, and instead of saying, this is what I found out, right? And then you say, I heard. You didn't verify. We go back. Always is the truth. Always is the fact.
Yeah.
How factual was it? Right? That the president-elect during the campaign collapsed 2 times. Right? Where are the details? Right?
Yeah. Where
So
did it
for
happen?
me, it was an issue.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you speak as an authority, you have the facts. But and this is there's the rule of the third thumb. If you are not sure, don't. Right? If you are not sure, don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you heard it from 10 people, as long as you are not sure, don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you dare, then what are you telling people? So now after that whole interview, I was asking myself, so what did I learn? Am I being told that the president-elect collapsed? Or should I also listen to the hearsay that she collapsed? So that was an issue. I'm not sure why you called it a chaotic.
No, it was actually for. No, it was actually
But for me,
yes.
that was a red flag. So
for me, it was also the same. I mean, when I called it chaotic, it's because it was at best very incoherent, and I think somebody at that level, for some reason, I mean, I have to be careful here, but I really think that you can't carry that title without substance. You ought to have more substance. You have to choose your words carefully, especially where you are not sure. And she kept saying, you know, in my opinion, and then she kept saying, oh, you know, with us women, also biology, I mean, sort of questioning the age of Netumana and Daitwa and all these kind of things. And, you know, those turbulences for me is what made it a very chaotic interview.
But what was the question? What was the question? This is, when I saw that, I was like, so what is the question here? And that's why I said in the beginning, we need to be very careful, because you need to know. Don't talk about what you don't know, and don't put disclaimers, because you are sending different messages. Right? Especially if it's an interview that there is an international audience. So now this is where my problem comes, and this is why I said in the beginning, the controversies that we are talking about, the messy, sticky situations that we are talking about, we are creating them. Now, 30 minutes after the announcement, I think, or maybe an hour after the announcement that NBC is suspended here, I saw people coming to calling NBC names. Then I said back and I said, but do we really know what the reasons are? Because NBC didn't say, right? So before we defend, we need to ask ourselves, it's not a good thing that someone is suspended. No, it's not. But we need to ask ourselves, like you are saying, is the suspension necessary? What did she sign up for? So before we can defend, if we are talking about press freedom, democracy, the basic is the truth. Are we supposed to defend a person, or we are supposed to defend the truth? Yes. So the assertions that were made, are they truthful? Are they factual? Or we are being emotional? Because what I've observed is we have a lot of emotional journalists. And I said on my WhatsApp status the other time that, look, journalism by nature is activism, but for the people who can speak for themselves. But today we have journalists who are activists for self-interest. It's not about the people. So we need to make a distinction. Right? It's not a good thing for someone to be suspended, but it speaks to the fact, whatever we are going to say in public, for public consumption, we need to have one question. Am I being factual? What you don't know, don't say it. Yes. So if you venture into what you don't know, you end up being a hero for nothing.
I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
And for me also, I wonder, there's this idea that somehow, solidarity, and I don't pander to solidarity blindly. That somehow, because you are industry colleagues, because you mentioned a very important point in the beginning about this untouchable sort of attitude by journalists, that somehow you can do whatever the hell you want, and if somebody pushes you in the slightest, then you hide behind the banner of press freedom, and all these kind of things. We also ought to introspect and say, but here, I messed up.
Yeah.
Here, Wanda is my friend, is my industry colleague, but I cannot, on this occasion, I cannot defend him. We don't do that.
Yeah.
People just hear that Wanda has been suspended, within minutes the statements are flying, condemnation. No regard whatsoever to the facts and what might have transpired. And I think that is dangerous. And that is why even the way we are being perceived now as an industry is not very positive. People perceive us quite negatively lately.
Yeah.
Partly also because of the activism thing that you spoke about, that you can no longer tell whether now this is Toivan Jebela speaking as a journalist or as a private citizen or anything. Everything is just banded together. And that is a bit dangerous. Of course, I retain above anything else my right as an individual to express my views on certain things.
Yeah.
But when there's now a blurry line between that and my professional endeavors, then it becomes a bit of a problem. But related to that is the situation that we saw towards the end of this year, journalists being on party lists. Sonia Smith on the PDM parliamentary list. There's a lady, a former colleague of mine, Tuliki Abraham. She's mostly a freelancer. Maybe her case is a bit different. Worked for New Era during my time there. Worked for MBC. She's number 31 or so. Very, very good position on the SWAPO list. She's parliament bound. There's also a lady, I think, Julian Equire, also on the PDM list. And she wrote also, she's also a reporter of some sort. And as soon as these things came forth, people said, oh, so people now want to reflect to the work of this journalist and say, okay, so this article that was written 4 months ago, how must we view it now in light of these new facts? Your views on that?
I have no issues with people who choose politics. It's their democratic right. We've got lots of people who became presidents. The former Prime Minister of UK, for example, the controversial one.
Yeah, Boris. Yes. Was an editor.
Yes. The DAE founding president in South Africa.
Helen Zille also worked as a journalist. Yes.
But look, there's a thin line here of becoming a journalist or going into politics. At what time do you remove the journalist jacket and then you say, I'm putting on a politician's one now?
Yeah.
You will actually find the colleagues that you spoke about, some of the information came out of the blue, a bolt of lightning to say, they are now going into politics. And then you tend to wonder, like you were saying, that it will make people go back to say, so what they were writing here and there, this was the entry point. So, like I said, it's their democratic right to go in, but the questions will still come. And I want to say this again: the media profession is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that have gone wrong. A lot of things have gone wrong. It's not only the journalist who has become a politician because they want to go to the parliament and for the next 5 years eat free money, spend free money, do nothing, just go and they sit.
Yeah.
It's also for the media houses that have become political.
Yeah.
Yes, there's also nothing wrong, because if you go to the States, media houses declare that we are backing this guy. But here, you only infer the juice from the stories that you read. So the politics part of it, of the media today, like you are saying, the lines are blurred. From the editorial slants, you can actually tell when one newspaper covers one political leader, is, like that leader is an angel. When the next day they cover another person, they throw mud everywhere. And then you sit back and say, but how? So there is the political animal in each one of us that has been given room to get out, and we are not ashamed of it. So with those ones who say, I am now going to parliament, at least they are being honest. They are saying,
They're being honest.
I'm going. I'm not there anymore.
No, but
they are not hiding.
But that is also
the issue is hiding.
That is also what we didn't see.
Yeah.
Because I mean, of course, some of these colleagues did not make it to parliament. Are we going to see?
But are you surprised too that they didn't make it? Because most of them, they can't even address people. Right,
yeah.
That is one. What policy do they understand from their writing, right? Because if you had gone through some of the materials that some of those people wrote, and you sit back and ask yourself, going to parliament with this stuff, right?
But in fairness,
look, if you are added onto a list, right? This is the biggest issue. You don't win the right to go. Someone who, for some other reason, likes you, comes up and says, I want you on my list. That doesn't make you a politician. And this is exactly why most of them never make the cut.
No, but you see, no, they didn't make the cut because their party simply did not win enough seats.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with them. It's the party that did not do enough or is not perceived very well. I mean, if you look in the case of Sonia Smith, for example, I think she was at a very favorable place.
Number 11, yes.
Yes, for a party that had 16 seats at the time of her nomination. So she could have easily gone in. But...
Trevor, wait, sorry, I'm coming in. Look, we know PDM had issues. From those who were chucked out in 2019, right? It had issues, right? There were people who were in PDM all these years, right? Veterans, people who were in the trenches. Do you think that those people were happy to be replaced by a secretary? Someone who was never active? And then they will smile about it, knowing that their sweat for the past 20 so years, someone is going to benefit? Do you honestly think that was going to be?
That's a good point.
For a party that already had issues. PDM had issues. And still today, those guys are demanding millions. Where is the money going to come from? So if you sit back and think that the same party was going to win more seats, I think we need to start thinking. Because you cannot just pick people and then put them on your list and believe that your own people who have been in the trenches with you, this is bread. For politicians, going to parliament, it's a livelihood.
No, of course.
So who would smile when their bread is taken from the table, or when someone takes sand and puts sand in the food? No.
I hear you.
And even if you are playing football, this is when you kick the ball. Instead of kicking the ball into the gate, you would rather kick the ball the other way.
I'm with you on that point. I honestly do not. I think PDM 5 seats, 6 seats is really the standard of PDM. The 2019 16 seats was just a miracle because of mostly because of the problems that were in SWAPO and this idea at the time that anything but SWAPO, and people were just closing their eyes and tick on PDM and any other party that they could find. So the results of this year are more reflective of the true standards of of PDM. So I don't think it's a punishment, some sort of internal reward. I think it's really the generic standard of the party. But let's be fair also. This supposed lack of substance is the very problem in our politics. Go to the SWAPO list. You find that's why I've seen some political parties who were proposing that for you to stand on our ticket for parliament or for local authorities, you must have a particular minimum qualification. At least let's have some standards. You can't just because you sing the loudest or you have the biggest flag hoisted on your car, then you are the comrade that must go to parliament. You do not understand. Because a lawmaker, you're going to make laws for us. And you have no clue whatsoever what lawmaking is, what democracy is, what the very statehood of us. So it's a cross-cutting issue for me. Go to all political parties, IPC. I don't know everybody on their list, but the fact that Itula is not going to be in parliament, Christine Auchamus, whom I think is quite a brilliant lady from a distance, I've never met her in person, she looks quite brilliant, is not going to parliament. Then you look at the list of those that are going to parliament. Again, I want to be fair because I do not know all of them. But you look at others and say, but what is this guy going to do in parliament? So it's a problem.
To sit and wait for one. But look, on a very serious note, nothing beats experience. Right.
But you have to start somewhere with experience.
If it's the right experience. But for you to have experience, you need to learn from those who have it. But the problem that we spoke about the juniorization of newsrooms today. There are junior reporters whom you can't tell anything because they know, right? And you look at them and ask them, but how did you are not anywhere yet. So it's the problem that we have, not only in the media fraternity, it's in politics. Well, I've seen people who have got PhDs, but they are empty heads, right? You engage them, then you tend to ask yourself, how did they get the PhD? Substance, I'm not sure if it's acquired. You learn it, right? You learn. But it's the learning part that is lacking. One goes to parliament, they are an empty head. The fact that they are there, they think that they know, right? One goes to UNAM to NAST, they get a degree, they end up in the newsroom. The fact that they've got that paper, they think they know. Nothing beats experience. So what we need, these people who are rushing to go, they need to learn from the trenches, from the ropes, because whatever happens, if you skip stages of growth, it will reflect. And the biggest issue that I also have, the juniorization of the media fraternity. A lot of young journalists, they are fighting to become editors. You want to become an editor. And some people like Roger Munamawa, the one that you referred to, I also had an interaction with him in 2006. He came from the Namibians, the original team. So he knew, right? So that you skip some stages and the staircase will crumble when you are up there. So the quality, whether it's in politics, whether it's in media, we have people who are rushing to be where they are not supposed to be. And when you are up there, then you realize that you can't pull this off. And everything else goes to, and this is why some of the brilliant media houses, they are dying today because of leadership. You lead with the heart, and well, like you said, you have to be firm, but you need to be a people's person, right? So that everything else starts with you being a human being. If you are a human being, you respect the truth, If you respect truth, you respect the next person. And when you do a story about that person, you do that story with respect. But we don't find it. And this is why there are so many stories that when you read, you can find revenge. We want to get this one. And the witch hunt, most of the stories you can actually find. This story here, why was it related? What is the basis? And you find there is nothing, just words. So I will go back to what I said, all the controversies, when people talk about the controversies and the mercy, and I'm like, really, let us start looking at ourselves. What role did we play in making this become what it is now? And then the end part of it is, the Reporters Without Borders, they read the stories, they listen. This one has been suspended, this one has been this and that and that. They don't care to find out what happened. Or what then they do is then they come and then, we are ranking this country. For me, it's not the ranking that matters, because the rankings don't consider people, right? Journalists in the newsrooms, times are very, very tough. These rankings don't improve the salaries. They don't improve their working conditions. I would rather have someone who will come up with a ranking that will say Namibian journalists are being paid well. The working conditions are better. Yes, not the figures to say because you suspended someone, because this went this, and then you rank. Where does America stand in the rankings? Where does the UK stand in the rankings? Where does France? China. But we are so much concerned. We need to redefine press freedom. We need to redefine all the democracies that are linked to the media. Because like you said, we are using those as shields. You can't touch me because I'm a journalist. But you are a human being before you become that.
But on the last note, Wanda, I agree with nearly everything that you said. But I'm really, really particular when it comes also to setting dangerous precedents. And if we start as a country entertaining some of these things that have happened, the Jonathan Beukes case in particular concerns me a lot. Because at least I've had the privilege of looking at Mr. Maletsky's letter to the board. What is listed there for me is total hogwash. There's no reason to suspend someone for that. If there are other internal administrative issues, maybe he's not meeting his performance targets or whatever, that I can understand. But to say that the man is writing negative stories, and if you say the stories are lies, I could understand. The stories are lies, and therefore you're exposing us to, by the way, the Nelumbu, the police guy, that doesn't come from the Jonathan era, so it's not even on him. But if you say, look, this man has exposed us to litigation time and again. We've warned him to consider his facts more carefully, but he's not doing that, and now we are always fighting in courts, maybe. But to simply say, no, the stories are negative, or he's writing too much about philo public enterprises, there's no institution in the country that is more accountable to the people than those that are funded with our own money. So if there are problems at NAST, because I know that they wrote a lot of articles about NAST and other places, they ought, so my fear really is the precedent that if people can get away with this kind of behavior, you just write a story and then suddenly you are fired, or that is my worry.
Trevor, I agree. Look, I haven't seen that letter, so I cannot speak, but I've read stories about NAST.
Yes.
Right? And I read between the lines, right? And if you ask me, There were a lot of stories about Nanast. The question is why.
Yeah.
Like I said, you get tips. But a person who gives you tips about something,
They also have their
they
own
are
agenda.
vested.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue is, with journalists mostly, you go with what your tipster would have given you.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I need to write a balanced story.
Or
you
even
have a preconceived, predetermined story. The template is already there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why most people will say, no, I'm not going to comment, just write whatever. Because then they know that the story that you are going to write, whether they are going to comment, it won't be balanced.
Yeah.
So the question that we have, and once again, I'm not saying the nasty stories were not balanced, because I don't know on what premise they were conceived. But from what I read between the lines, there was a lot to be desired. We don't have to witch hunt.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have to witch hunt, because the signals that are sent out there, and this is the issue. Let me be very frank.
Yeah, briefly.
NAST has got someone from another tribe,
Yes.
right, is leading it. So you have someone from another tribe, and the tribes here are very sensitive, right? Writing these stories every other day, the impression that creates in people's minds is there's a tribal issue, even if there's no tribal issue.
Yeah.
So we need to be very careful how we balance. And as an editor, you need to say, fine, I'm moving, I'm giving this to somebody else. So this is a very sensitive thing, and I don't know how people perceived it, but whenever I read and I sat back, I said, okay, so what does this mean? How do people perceive it?
Yeah.
So there are sensitive things, and I'm not sure if that is what led to the whole issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even there, I wasn't even there, so I don't know. But once again, I want to say, if we say it's controversial, people have been suspended before.
Absolutely.
Everywhere, but like you are saying rightly, we need to question the wrongs that are done.
Absolutely.
So if there's something wrong, then we must say this is wrong.
Absolutely. Wanda, thank you for making time.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's my colleague, Wanda Guchu, who is an editor and a veteran journalist, sharing rather frank views, very strong introspection of this media industry that we love to hate. We wish you a happy 2025, and yes, thank you for being with us for this year.